Hey yo, good evening viewers of the tube. My name is Tyler and welcome to the channel that keeps the content flowing, no matter what the state of the markets might be. Fear, panic, greed, and even when someone is filing patents that they are Satoshi. I really didn't mean to make that rhyme, you see, because it's time for Chico Crypto. Yee! Talking about patents and Satoshi. Some of the big news that hit yesterday morning was Craig Wright has registered patents with the United States Copyright Office to support his claims that he is the creator of Bitcoin and is the infamous Satoshi Nakamoto. The registrations are for the Bitcoin Whitepaper, as seen here, as well as the original Bitcoin core code, as seen here. Now, Craig has been granted the registration, but people, you have to realize this by no means proves he is Satoshi and created Bitcoin. Registration of a copyright is just filling out a form. The Copyright Office does not investigate the validity of the claim. They just register it to the first person who brings it forward. Craig has obviously exploited this to bring more validity to his own claims, even though this proves no validity whatsoever. For example, I could write a paper that I am the Emperor of China, and the US Copyright Office would register it. Am I the Emperor of China? I don't think so. This stunt has achieved its goal though, pumping the price of what Craig calls the true Bitcoin, Bitcoin SV or Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, up over 100% for some time, but has settled down to just over 70% 24-hour price increase as of shooting this video. So today I don't want to necessarily dig into the details if Craig Wright is actually Satoshi, because I've already did a video on that. And if you want to check that video out, it's in the description. And by the way, I come to the conclusion he is definitely not Satoshi. But I do want to take a look into the three contenders who all say they are the true Bitcoin. Bitcoin Core, Bitcoin Cash, and Craig's Bitcoin SV. And I'll make my own opinion on which one is currently the true Bitcoin. So to begin, let's look at a little history of Bitcoin and the hard forks that made both Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV. Since the inception of Bitcoin, there have been questions regarding its ability to scale. The original Bitcoin has been restricted to 1 megabyte block sizes for some time, and the debate regarding increasing the block size ramped up in 2017 and into 2018. A potential fix for this was Segwit, or segregated witnesses. Segwit is a protocol upgrade that changes the way data is stored and was officially activated on Bitcoin August 23, 2017. Segwit works by removing signature information and storing it outside the base Bitcoin transaction block, thus meaning you can add more transactions inside the Bitcoin 1 megabyte block, as the transactions contain less data. Segwit did not increase the block size limit, that is still 1 megabyte, but introduces a new concept of block weight, which is a mashup of block size with and without signature data, and this is capped at 4 megabytes. This block weight contains the signature data of those Segwit transactions, which now more can fit into the 1 megabyte base transaction block. Well, some people within the Bitcoin community, including some miners and prominent figures in Bitcoin like Jihan, Craig Wright, and Roger Ver, they decided that this was not a sufficient way to scale. So in August, when Bitcoin implemented Segwit, they hard forked the protocol to create Bitcoin Cash. This new chain came without Segwit implemented. It increased the base size block limit to 8 megabytes and included adjustable levels of difficulty through a difficulty adjustment algorithm. And this was due to ensure the chain's survival and transaction speed. This split caused major controversy, but the controversy was just beginning because 1 year later, in August of 2018, Bitcoin Cash announced an update to their protocol, known as Bitcoin ABC 0.18.0, and this would require a hard fork to complete. This update would allow for Bitcoin Cash to have the ability for smart contracts and oracles, but it also changed the ordering of transactions while increasing the block size limit to 32 megabytes. And two people in the Bitcoin Cash camp, Craig Wright and Ayre, did not believe in some of these changes. Well, Roger Ver and Jihan decided to go ahead with the update, and on November 15th, Bitcoin Cash split in two, resulting in what is to become known as the Hash Wars, which was a messy week where each side was directing mass amounts of hashing power to their respective chain to come out on top as the true Bitcoin Cash. In just 1 week, both sides burned through almost $12 million, and Roger Ver and Jihan were getting most of the hashing power. So Craig Wright and Ayre called for a permanent blockchain split, complete with replay protection to protect user funds on both networks. This is effectively when Bitcoin SV was born. Now that we have some history of what went down, let's decide on who is the real Bitcoin. Well, if we go back to the hash wars, when there was a fight about who would become the true Bitcoin Cash, it all came down to hashing power. Whoever had the most got to retain the name of Bitcoin Cash. There is a reason Bitcoin Cash is called Bitcoin Cash and not Bitcoin, because it does not compare in hashing power to Bitcoin, and the same goes with Bitcoin SV. Currently, Bitcoin has nearly 50,000 petahashes of hashing power pointed at it. Bitcoin Cash has about 1,870 petahashes, and Bitcoin SV has only 579 petahashes. Bitcoin has over 26 times more hashing power of Bcash and over 86 times more hashing power than Bitcoin SV. The mining community is speaking through hashing power, and it's obvious which chain they believe to be the true Bitcoin. How about the users, the people actually using the chain for payments or moving value? Which chain is actually being utilized? This website is a great visualizer of what is actually going on. It's called the Transaction Highway and can be found at txhighway.com. The bottom road is the Bitcoin blockchain, and each car is a representation of a transaction going through. The top wider road is a representation of the Bitcoin Cash blockchain with its 32 megabyte block size. As you can see, most transactions are going through Bitcoin, and Bitcoin Cash has 1 or 2 transactions happening every so often. Unfortunately, this website does not include Bitcoin SV, but if it did, it would be even more of a ghost town than Bitcoin Cash. I mean, the main reason these splits happened was because of the block size limit. But from this chart, you can see the block size limit is not even being utilized for either Bitcoin SV or Bitcoin Cash, as their average block size is far below even 1 megabyte, signaling that a minimal amount of people are using either of the chains. Although Bitcoin in the original white paper was named as a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, Bitcoin with its current transactions and no layer 2 scaling solution does not fulfill the original vision of being cash. Fees for Bitcoin are once again getting too high to be considered an electronic cash, currently being on average over $4 today, while both Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV are under 1 cent. But for transaction times and confirmation times, they are about the same for each chain. Block times for each chain are about 10 minutes, meaning a new block of transactions will be added to the chain every 10 minutes, and the transaction will gain 1 confirmation and be considered foolproof. Although Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV have been supportive of 0 confirmation transactions, which mean no confirmations are needed for the transaction to go through. 0 confirmations are also possible on Bitcoin, but there are many security concerns with these types of transactions due to double spending, so in my personal opinion, none of the chains have the upper hand in this regard. One thing I need to bring up regarding Bitcoin is Blockstream. They seem to be content with Bitcoin being slow, especially the core layer, as seen from this Max Kaiser interview with Blockstream employee Samson Mao.
Bitcoin is not meant to move fast. It's supposed to be a store of value, a medium of wealth transfer. It needs to be reliable.
The fact that it's slow is as Satoshi Light, one of your buddies says, is that's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah, if you want money, it doesn't need to be very fancy. And a lot of the altcoin projects, I don't really want to comment or go into it, but they're just based on gimmicks. You know, what you really want is sound money. You want something reliable and bulletproof.
Now, there are things I agree with and disagree with. Bitcoin does need to scale, and the money does need to be fast and efficient. But I do agree with him regarding the security and reliability. The transactions need to be bulletproof, which the core Bitcoin software does like no other chain can. We will have to see how the Lightning Network Layer 2 scaling solution adapts and takes off, because if Bitcoin is to keep its #1 spot, this needs to work, and it needs to work good. Well, viewers, we are going to have all 3 sides saying they are the one true Bitcoin. But in my personal opinion, the best way to gauge which one is the true one has to be based on usage and hashing power. Bitcoin as it stands is dominating this, and I do not foresee that changing anytime in the future. If you have any arguments or rebuttals, let me know. Cheers, I'll see you down in the comments.